watching Septum Sin versus the World. I'm Septum Sin. I'm here with Kotobuki Jake.
Hello?
And we're here to show you what we got.
Show me what you got. I want to see what you got. Oh boy.
So, any case, we're going to go through all of that, but first, thought we would just tell you about what we've been doing lately.
Yeah.
We've both been trying to watch some new stuff. It's been about 2 weeks, so it's been a while, but we've both had some exciting stuff. So I guess we'll start with what you've got there, and then we'll start with what I've got for the collection. Well, we've got both of us got for one, but then we'll start.
Well,
with
we
what I
also,
got
of
after.
course, have an exciting viewing that we can both report on.
Yes.
Both got to see Avengers: Infinity War.
Yes,
That was really good. Not going to go into spoilers here because you'd kill us. But if you haven't seen it and you have any interest in the movies, watch it. It's considerably better than Age of Ultron was.
Yes.
I would actually say it's one of the better Marvel films.
Yeah, I was listening to a review, a non-spoiler review of it. I do think that they said it best.
Yeah.
This is a film for those of you who have been invested in the Marvel
Yes.
Universe. I wouldn't watch it if you hadn't. The few complaints I have seen are those that are like, well, they don't really explain why the characters are there or what they're supposed to be. It's like, that's because they've already explained it.
Yeah.
They've already set it up.
If, as far as the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe goes, you don't really have to have seen The Incredible Hulk because it barely fits in. It's sort of the redheaded stepchild.
Oh, yeah. For Hulk, you just need to see Thor Ragnarok.
Right. And it's debatable whether you really, truly need to have seen all three Iron Man movies. Or the big one that you don't have to have seen, and this is a minor spoiler, very minor spoiler, but you don't have to have seen Ant-Man.
Yeah, Ant-Man's not.
Ant-Man is
you
not
might for the next one, though.
You probably will for the next one. You'll probably need that, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I guarantee you'll need Captain Marvel before the next one.
So let me see real quick. I'm going to bring up a list. So I thought it might be fun to go down the list of Marvel Universe films and tell you what would probably be good and what you probably could skip. Iron Man
would be useful.
I think Iron Man's a great.
Yeah.
It defines Iron Man. You know who he is.
Right.
Incredible Hulk is, as you said, passable. Iron Man 2, very passable.
Yeah. Thor is pretty good for this one.
It defines the character.
Captain America, the first Avenger.
Definitely.
There's actually a surprise cameo that movie is essential for.
Yes.
And then the Avengers, of course.
Oh yeah, and Captain America also sets up the gem itself.
Both that, well, yeah, that's true. The Tesseract, the what becomes known as the Space Gem.
Yeah.
And actually, we should mention those. Phase 2, of course, you got Iron Man 3. Debatable for this
Thor
one.
Dark World.
Thor Dark
has
World
a tie-in.
Thor Dark World sets up the Reality Stone,
Yeah,
so that's
it's
important. Winter Soldier,
definitely important.
Definitely important. Guardians of the Galaxy is essential to this one, actually. And a lot of people were surprised by that. Age of Ultron, of course, is essential to this one.
Yes.
Ant-Man, not
so
important to
much.
this one.
So then we get into...
And then everything in Phase 3.
Yeah, pretty
Everything in Phase 3.
It has
Civil
to do with
War, Doctor Strange, Guardians Volume 2, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Maybe not Spider-Man Homecoming.
To a degree. It sets up the character, and you notice Ned when he shows up in the movie.
Yeah.
So that one's less important, but it's fun. Thor Ragnarok and Black Panther directly set up the film.
And even Black Panther, I'm not necessarily, because you get enough. As much as I think Black Panther is one of the best
Wakanda.
ones, it does set up Wakanda.
And Wakanda is integral to this one.
But you could theoretically, if you were trying to get through, though, I think that you need to see Black Panther because it to me is one of the best of the Marvel movies.
You at least need an introduction to T'Challa, so at least Civil
War would be would give you that introduction. Same thing with Spider-Man. I think that Spider-Man: Homecoming and Black Panther are about equally as important when it comes to it. It's something that would be a good flesh out, but it's not 100% necessary.
And another important thing is also understanding the stakes involved. Without going into specifics, there are some genuine deaths in the film. And I say genuine because anyone who's read the comics knows what happens. Even though they changed a lot, there's a major plot element that happens, and the film ends, and a lot of people were left going, I'm like, you didn't know that was coming?
Okay, before you go in, I didn't realize that people did not understand this.
Yes.
This is part 1 of 2.
Yes. It's part 1 of 2.
So expect it to set up for a second movie.
It ends on a cliffhanger. Be aware, it ends on a cliffhanger.
That should not be a spoiler.
No.
What happens at the end should, if you understand the comics at all, what happens at the end is not a spoiler.
No.
You should know. You should expect it.
Yes. And also, if you think economics, you know what's coming too. But anyway, so taken for what it was and knowing what I knew to expect going in, I thought it was really good, and I actually really liked the end. I really did. There were a few parts that caught me off guard. There were a few parts I would have liked to see differently. Well, one of my biggest complaints, and this is not really a spoiler, but it's kind of a complaint.
Why don't we pause for a moment? And what I can do is this. Below, you will see the time you can go to avoid spoilers. And now, from here on out, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, spoilers now.
Okay, well, I'm still going to avoid major spoilers because I don't want the mouse to shut us down.
This way you can actually, but people do spoilers as long as you warn them.
One thing I do want to say that bugged me was I think they made Peter Quill more of an ass in this one than he needed to be.
God, yes.
They really, and there's a major spoiler involved with that, and I won't get into that, but I loved him in the Guardians movies, but he was very annoying in this one.
Oh, God, yeah.
And people were worried about Teen Groot. Teen Groot was mildly annoying, but he luckily far less so.
He started out that way, but then he showed himself at the end.
He became more of the Groot that we love by the end of the movie, Okay.
I also thought the movie was a very good. To me, it really felt more like and again, spoiler area, a development of Thanos, the character.
Yes,
that the
he's
movie
a great villain.
Was more about his journey, his personal journey. It was more like he was the protagonist of this movie, and these other ones were kind of the antagonist trying to tear him down. I felt more like I was watching his journey than I was their journey to try and stop him.
Marvel has finally created a good, compelling villain other than Loki.
Oh, it's very different, and I have to say, I like that they changed it up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thanos in the comics is boring.
The comics, it was
really in the original Infinity Gauntlet, he had the hots for death, who was a personified, and he was trying.
He wanted to get on the Grim Reaper.
He was trying. It was a booty call for death.
He wanted to jump them bones, literally.
And the idea of wiping out half the universe to bring balance. I
wasn't him at all.
No, that was a very different take on the character, and it was very much on the movie's benefit.
Yeah, Thanos was not a sympathetic character at all in the comics.
No.
I mean, he not only did that, and if you haven't read the comics, well, you're in the spoiler section. What are you doing? But Thanos in the comics was a total dick.
Yes.
He didn't care about anybody else. He had no qualms for the greater good. He beat up Nebula just because, of course, she was just about as much dick as he is. And he wanted it not just for that, but he wanted to be recognized by the celestial beings as one of them on an equal footing. And his greed for power is what defeats him in that. And I can say that because I'm pretty darn sure that that's not going to be how he goes down in the Infinity War, because this Thanos isn't set up like that. He isn't set up by the fact like, I'm going to be the greatest, I'm super powerful, and then somebody steals the gauntlet while he's like one with the universe. That was probably the most anticlimactic end to it. He basically defeated himself.
Yeah.
And then they had to go fight Nebula, who took the gauntlet, and Thanos had to join forces with the rest of them in order to take her out with the gauntlet, which I thought was entertaining in and of itself. But again, if you haven't read these things, you need to check it out. But again, the comics are not necessary reading to understand this. It's very different.
And the whole thing of like wiping out half the universe, in the comics, a lot of major characters die.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of major characters. So anyone who went into the movie unprepared for that, definitely, I don't think it's a huge spoiler to say, yes, half the cast will die. But I don't think half the cast will stay dead. I think there are 5 deaths that probably will not be retconned. And there may be one or two of them, maybe, and there may be some out of the main death that
I think anybody who was taken out by the Infinity Gauntlet will be brought back, much like the comics.
Probably.
I mean, they might die afterwards, but I think they will be brought back.
I have a theory on this, but I'm not going to get into it. But maybe after a few weeks have passed, I'll put it forward. Yeah. Maybe after when we're reviewing Ant-Man and the Wasp or something. And incidentally, you'll know this very small spoiler. I said Ant-Man was not important. There's a one line to write off Ant-Man and Hawkeye and explains why they're not in the movie. So you know they're going to be integral to defeating Thanos in the sequel.
Well, you know that Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is tying into Infinity War.
Because you've got to have Hawkeye if you're going to win.
But yeah, Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is supposedly tying into that, but it's tying into it like as an afterthought. Oh yeah, did you hear about what happened in New York City?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard from the director lately?
But they're going to... There's actually a funny video that Smosh Games did where they were playing Hero Clicks, which brings me back. I loved Hero Clicks, and I was...
One other small gripe. And I don't know what your thought is on this too. Again, Thor Ragnarok directly leads into this movie. The end of that movie is 5 minutes later, you got the start of this movie.
That's the best one to watch right before.
I want to know the fate of certain characters who are not in Infinity War. It bugged me that they left certain ones up in the air completely. Some of them it's very clear and definitive, and some of them are not even mentioned. And one in particular, who was the star of Thor Ragnarok, other than Thor and Loki and a couple of the others, is not even mentioned. And that bugged me. So I don't know if they cut it for time, or if they plan to bring them in somehow later.
Or at all, maybe not at all.
You know, they do say that half the Asgardians are killed, but it sure looks like they all were.
Yeah,
it
looks like you killed every single one of them.
I know. And it's kind of, it's really unclear. And that bugged me.
No, dude, you killed them. No, half. Like, no, you blew... Yeah. You blew them up. No, half.
So you know which one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's like half of. It's like you killed half of them before you blew the rest up, maybe. But it's. So
anyway, that's probably enough on that one, right?
All right. So spoilers are at an end.
Yes. Wow. That was several minutes. We probably
Well, so we'll just move through the rest of this pretty quickly.
Okay.
What else you got?
Well, I got a few other things I've seen. In the week that we skipped, there were at least 2 movies I want to mention. And if you watch our new release / news video, you'll hear me go off about the news I heard about the new film by Asghar Farhadi. Last couple weeks, I got to watch an older film by Farhadi This is, of course, the director who did Forashande, which is also called The Salesman. And he also did A Separation, which is one of the great films of the past few years. He did a film called Chaharashande Suri, which was released here under the name Fireworks Wednesday. And it's 10 years old when it was released here in 2016, I guess to piggyback off the success of The Salesman. It's a really good movie. It's really good. A lot of yelling. But it was generally a really good movie. And then that week, I also saw a movie.
There's The Salesman.
Yeah, there's The Salesman. Yeah. But we also saw a movie I also saw a movie that originally was released as a Japanese film called Koneko Monogatari, The Kitten's Tale.
Never heard Monogatari at once.
But we know it here in this country as Adventures of Milo and Otis. Very controversial movie, apparently. I grew up thinking, it's this great little kids film about animals and stuff.
Animals trying to find their way home.
And I watched it, and I'm like, wow, that looks... What did they do with that animal and that animal? And I come to find out the movie has this long debate over whether they killed a bunch of animals. So it's hard to know what to make of it. But I will say this. It seems like a YouTube cat video mixed with a British nature documentary. And I'm sitting here going, my God, they stole my idea for Disney's live-action remake of Aristocats.
Yeah.
Without the animal cruelty, I want this to be how Disney makes the Aristocats. Because it would be hilarious. But anyway, this past week, other than Infinity War, I did see 3 other movies. One of them was really impressive, and 2 of them were pretty flippin' awesome. Stronger was a Jake Gyllenhaal film with Tatiana Maslany about a survivor of the Boston Marathon bombing. Was a hard film to watch, but it was really good. Gyllenhaal is a great actor. Maslany is a great actress. They worked well off each other. It was a good movie overall. I finally saw your mom's favorite movie, The Greatest Showman.
Yeah, she wants to bring that over next weekend
to see it. It was so good. It was really good. And I have issues with the idea of something glorifying P.T. Barnum, but it was a really interesting movie. Well done. Great music. Worth watching. But the big winner of the week, other than Infinity War, and possibly even more so, I saw Nora Twomey's The Breadwinner, which was the last film I still need to see for the animated feature nominees. It's great.
Not like The Breadwinners, but Breadwinner.
No, The Breadwinner.
Okay.
It's an animated feature co-produced by Angelina Jolie and Tom Moore. Like I said, directed by Nora Twomey, about a young girl in Afghanistan during the Taliban era who her father is unjustly imprisoned, and she dresses as a boy to take care of the family while simultaneously doing everything she can to get back in touch with the father and find out what's going on. And it's a really good movie. Really worth watching. Yeah. What's up?
So, yeah. Yeah. I'm sure Phantom Strider would agree with you that The Breadwinner is probably better than The Breadwinners.
Could be.
Well, you'd have to see that tripe to actually understand. Me, it's been a weird kind of thing. I've been playing a little bit of video gaming, doing some Far Cry 5, which is really fun. My external hard drive crashed. Because my PlayStation likes to just turn off at intervals during rest mode, which corrupts the files and messes it up. So I had to reformat my hard drive.
That's annoying.
But the good thing is that all the save data is stored on the main hard drive. So I just have to reinstall the game, and I was able to keep going. It was actually kind of funny because I completed a particular quest called the Testy Festy, where you have to basically go gather, Rocky Mountain oysters, essentially, of different kinds. Then you get drunk.
How lovely.
And you wake up in a pen with a pig with a party hat on its head.
This is the one about cultists?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing you just said surprises me.
So, but other than that, I've also been enjoying some of my other stuff. I've been getting some games and stuff, which you'll see a little bit later on, to refresh out some of my PlayStation 2 stuff from the PlayStation 2 I reacquired. And I thank the Rebel Gaming Club for reigniting my interest in retro gaming. I ran into a coworker who was wanting to get rid of his PlayStation 3 Slim. And he said, you know what, I'll give it to you for $25. I'm like, ooh, I'll take that.
Not bad for a PS3.
So I'm able to have a semi-new PS3 that's downstairs to go with the one upstairs, so I can finally read the text off of some of these, because the TV is kind of smallish
Right.
and my in the bedroom, so I can't do it, and every time I play a game on it, I start falling asleep because I'm in the bed. So I'm able to finally get into that. I've been playing the Suikoden series. More on that a little bit later. As far as viewing, I finished. Hold on, I got it.
You got it.
I finished watching this collection.
Nice.
So now I can safely say all the discs, at least the movie discs, are good. And that's pretty awesome. So I can't wait to check these out. Check out the bonus features, but that's for another date. And I finished watching Rob Zombie's 2 takes on them, and to tell you the truth, I did not mind the Rob Zombie films. The second one, I think, was a little bit too ambitious, and it had a lot of these insanity features that I thought were interesting, but I can understand why it didn't do very well.
You mean other than the horrible acting and all that kind of stuff?
I didn't think it was that bad, really.
I don't know. From what I saw, it was...
I mean, you got to keep in mind what it is, and look at what the second Halloween was. Compare it to
I don't
that.
think I ever saw that one.
You see, that's the thing, is you need to compare it to the movie that it's remaking, as not as much as to say something artistic.
I've seen the original Halloween, and it's not bad at all.
It's all right, but I also thought that they did a good job on his remake of the original one. I thought that the take of Michael Myers to try to show more of his past, to give you more of a background of him, was good, and I did think that the take of the take of Dr. Loomis was much better. Was not much better, but was a good take of Dr. Loomis. I thought they did a great job with that casting. Now, I've also, I don't think I actually talked about it to here, but I got to finally meet the director, John Johnson, the man behind the Skeleton Key films.
Oh, you met him? Cool.
Well, I met him online.
Oh, okay.
Though they're doing a casting call for a werewolf short film in Charlottesville. Which, is interesting. But it's only for females. Sorry. If you know anybody who wants to do that, that's coming up next weekend, I believe. Also, this coming weekend, which should be the 12th, NoFX and Bad Religion are coming to Richmond, which is going to be interesting. If you are into the punk thing and you're in that area, come see it. I will not be there because it's too crowded, and I'm getting old. And therefore, when you get older like I am, you don't want to be around that stuff anymore. Though, in my 20s, I would have loved to have gone to that. That would have been really cool.
Get to some more shows.
Because they are awesome bands, and I love hearing the stuff that they put out. I have started another series, and this will be the last thing I'm going to talk about so we can move on. Which is Wagneria Season 3, which I'm sure you're jealous of on that.
I know, I want to see that.
I watched that in Laser Team, which, very different film things, but for those of you who don't know Wagneria is this series that's about these people working in a restaurant, and family restaurant. Yeah. And the various interactions they have. They have... and
it felt so much like home.
If you've ever worked in one, you probably would get a lot more out of it. Me, I really like it. I like the dynamics. You've got 2 romantic relationships. You've got 2 other, untied things with some just girl who mysteriously just comes in out of nowhere, and you don't know anything about her. She's using a fake name. You don't know much about her, and she's a klutz, and she doesn't like to do any work. Then you also have...
and she lives in the restaurant.
Then you also have the owner of the store, the manager of the store, the one that's looking for his wife. And I can't remember. Is he like the owner or he's the big boss?
He's the big boss. Like the Kyoko's the store manager, I believe.
And so he's looking for his wife, who is apparently Ryoga Hibiki, and she's lost all the time. And they've actually wrapped up 2 of those 4 already in the first half, and looks like they are moving towards wrapping up the other 2 storylines in the second half. I would love to see this. I like it when they finally wrap things up. That makes it easier for me to say this was a good series. I know some people say I wish the series would go on forever, but I've seen Naruto, and no, I don't like a series to go on forever. I want it to end eventually.
Speaking of series that go on forever, I did also read some more One Piece.
Again, Oda needs to end it.
And some, I did get some further on Skip Beat as well. I got a few more, 2 more volumes read there, and
you're probably ahead of me now.
Well, I'm on volume 39.
Yeah, so, you read much quicker than I do.
Yeah, so it was, so it's got some very interesting background stuff has happened. And Kyoko's poised to take on a new role. There's different Kyoko from the one we were just mentioning. And also been reading on some completely different situation.
Something completely different.
I've been reading this book. The Rooster Bar is pretty good book. Pretty good book. It's not Grisham's finest, but
Does it have roosters in it?
No, but it has bar.
Well, that's something.
It might have roosters. I haven't gotten that far yet.
That's the secret. It's all the rooster. The rooster did it.
But it's a good in general. I've liked Grisham's books for a long time. They're not high art, but they're a good, quick read. I've been working on this book for about 2 days now, and I'm almost done with it. So the next one, though, is supposedly more artistic. Celestingi's The Little Fires Everywhere. Anyway, I guess we should probably move on to the pickups, huh?
Terriers and barfs everywhere.
Yeah, that. Whatever that. So, we got...
we got one thing that both of us have for the pickups this
very
time.
much looking forward to.
And that's, Mary and the Witch's Flower.
Yes.
This is actually a good one that we see as a kind of by the studio that's trying to take on the mantle that Ghibli is maybe leaving.
Studio Punch.
That they may or probably not leaving.
The film is directed by Hiromasa Yonebayashi, produced by Yoshiaki Nishimura. Both of them are Ghibli alums, and they have, of course, Yonebayashi was the one who directed The Secret World of Arietti and When Marnie Was There. And this is I think a better film than Arietti. Yeah. And it was really good, and the fact that it didn't get an Oscar nod, stupid. But yeah, I had to put in a pre-order for this, and luckily when we finally got it, it was about $5 less than the original pre-order price. But still $20, but whatever. Could have been worse.
So, I'll go ahead and lead off on the regular pickups this week.
Oh, you got a nice little compact edition of this one.
This is one that's a classic, Wolf's Rain. Funimation released it again, though it says Bandai Visual on
it. It was originally a Bandai America release. I have the old Bandai 2-part collection.
You can see it in his reviews.
When Bandai, it was behind me in the reviews. When Bandai shuttered their American operations, of course, this one needed a new home, and Funimation picked it up fairly quickly, if I remember correctly.
But, it's a nice size. It's 30 episodes, and I have the soundtrack. I've had the soundtrack for ages. Somebody sent it to me for free when I purchased something, and now I'm very interested in seeing this in person. I've heard it's a really good series, and it's a classic. It's one of those must-sees. So,
and God knows when I'll ever get to it, because I have it on DVD, and it's a W.
you'll get there.
And I like my editions, but his is nice and compact. I'm slightly envious of that. And now that I think about it, I probably could have done these as one item, but I'll do them separately. We're doing an extra one this week. We went ahead and did this as a bonus because we both had it and it's awesome. But I gave in and did a... What's up?
So we can see a cat.
I gave in and did a Disney Movie Club purchase. I'll probably have another one coming up in the next week or so. But, so it's not exactly the cheapest of items I could have gotten, but I am super excited about this collection. The item in question that I went ahead and let them send to me along with other stuff was this one, Star Wars The Last Jedi.
So is it any good?
Oh, it was quite good.
I've yet to see my copy.
I've yet to see my copy. But I thought about it this weekend because they had the Fourth Awakens, the Fourth Be With You, and the May the Fourth Be With You.
May the Fourth, yeah.
And then the Revenge of the Fifth, But I was busy all weekend, so I didn't do it. But I would still like to maybe try and see these soon, get them knocked out properly. This is a good movie. Much like with the Avengers, people were caught off guard. But in this case, there was a reason. There was stuff that was pulled out of nowhere. But I liked it. I thought it was good. I have never been a Star Wars purist. I am not one of those people that cries foul whenever things don't go exactly according to their own fan art.
You're not?
But no. Oh. But I thought it was pretty good. I liked the humor. I liked the unpredictability of it. I still think the new Star Wars films are better standalone films than some of the previous ones are. But this one does need a follow-up. And I am worried that they will have a hard time bringing things back together for the third part of this trilogy. But we'll see. Hey, Mr. Larson.
Well, as earlier on I had stated that I spoke with John Johnson, and he was it was an interesting journey through the 4 Skeleton Key films, but he told me, well, why don't you check out my other film? And he did a remake of Plan 9, which it's got that title. It's their planet now.
Because that is a movie that was screaming for a remake.
It was said that this was supposedly on the other end of the spectrum with the Skeleton Key films, which leads me to say, so this one is done much more differently, as in it probably has really, really good special effects and high quality acting and all of that, but maybe not as funny. There's a certain charm to the Skeleton Key movies. They kind of grow on you as you get to watch them. I even found out that those movies were almost entirely ad-libbed. So it makes me very curious. If you haven't, and you ever do come across the Skeleton Key films, and we're not talking about the actual one that made it to theaters, we're talking different Skeleton Key. You can see my videos on the Skeleton Key ones. Check it out. If you get a chance, it's well worth at least a look. Maybe not a full investment like I did, but check that out. And then I'm going to be watching this and probably put up a review. I do look forward to seeing this and hearing about it. So, interesting.
Okay. Back squarely into big budget territory.
Slightly different than what we just covered.
Different. Naturally, having gotten The Last Jedi, it made only perfect sense that I should get the film that came before. Star Wars The Force Awakens, which is still the highest grossing film ever, at least in this country, but I believe ever. And there's probably no chance Black Panther will beat this one at the domestic box office. Very little chance that Infinity War will beat it, but it'd be something if it does.
Yeah.
I think this one's, what was it, 950 million, something like that?
Mm-hmm.
It's the only one that's crossed the 900 million mark in this country alone.
Yeah.
Which tells you those Star Wars fanatics are definitely out there.
Well, this is what I don't get is I don't get the hate on for this trilogy.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the second one, but I have watched this one,
Right.
and the haters were hating on it after this one.
Yeah.
And I don't get it really. I mean,
Yeah.
I do understand the original trilogy was probably well enough to be just left alone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't disagree with that, but
then the second trilogy happened,
yeah.
and we needed an antidote.
I mean, this trilogy to me is hands down better than the prequel trilogy. Some people will say sacrilege, Lucas wrote it, but there's no Jar Jar.
Yeah.
And
this
he
one,
comes back in this.
again, the original trilogy is great, but they're not really, truly standalone films. Even if you think Empire is great, it doesn't stand on its own. It's part of the whole. And I really do think the new ones are better at standing on their own. If this had been a one-off with no sequels, it would have been a perfectly decent film. It did have some unfortunate parts. The most unfortunate part was spoiled for me because I was working in a theater and happened to walk in at that moment with no context. And I'm not usually that worried about spoilers, but every now and then they bug me, and that one bugged me. But it helped me to be prepared when I saw the movie, I guess you could say. Because I also worked in a theater, and we weren't allowed to see this for free.
It was a very fun movie, in my opinion.
We were not allowed to see this for free for like a month and a half after it came out. But this is a good movie. This is a good movie. I'm looking forward to the third one. I enjoyed Rogue One. I think I will enjoy Solo, but I'm not as keen on that one. I like the general idea of what they're doing now. I don't think it's going to be brilliant, but it's good. But I will say one thing. Please, for the love of God, please, let's stop giving Oscar nominations to John Williams' Star Wars scores.
Well, I think he's retiring from it.
I hope so. I mean, not that his score's great, but it's not original. But anyway, we've had that rant before. We'll leave it at that.
So, we're talking. I talked about the Rebel Gaming Club and going back into the past a little bit, and this actually is exemplified in this Kickstarter that just arrived today.
Oh.
Which is Bits of Yesterday. This is actually a documentary on those retro game collectors. I don't know how many of them are featured in this, but I actually have started to get into it a little bit. I won't get into it like they are because I'm mostly a proponent of movie collecting, and I've already gotten pretty much what I want for the time being. There are like a couple of titles out there, and the Switch is more of a practical purchase in the future because it's nice to be able to take that with you. But this is going to be interesting. If you see this, grab it. I think it's going to be a fun watch. Rebel Gaming Club is involved in it, and I'm going to definitely be watching this relatively soon.
Cool.
And we'll see a review hopefully in the near future. So it's a phenomenon I'm seeing a lot of on YouTube. I mean, I like the Rebel Gaming Club, of course, and I also like Fluffy Gamer. There are a couple others that I watch occasionally, but those two are the main ones. And it's just kind of fun to see it. A little bit of the past that comes back for you.
I'll admit I have gotten some amusement out of some of the stuff that I've seen. That other one you've been showing us was a Killian.
Oh, yes, Killian.
This is interesting. But anyway, My next up, we were talking about movies you need to see before you see Infinity War. And I got, to go along with my Star Wars movies, I decided to see what Marvel stuff they had at reasonable prices, which can be a difficult thing with Disney, but I ended up adding 2 onto my order, and I'm very psyched about these. First one, Doctor Strange. Of course, Benedict Cumberbatch's big entry into the MCU as the physician turned sorcerer supreme,
and a big one for the Infinity.
Big one for Infinity War. Doctor Strange is a pretty big player in the movie, and they did a good job of nodding to the different movie themes. And as a nod to this one, I see Infinity War being almost a shoo-in for visual effects this year.
Oh, yeah.
Doc Strange actually was a phenomenal visual effects film. Ended up losing, I think, to Jungle Book, if I remember correctly. But that one was pretty phenomenal, too. But really good movie. It was a lot of fun. It was very interesting. Doctor Strange, like a lot of these Marvel characters, was a character that I was kind of, but I liked seeing him in live action. I thought he was well done. And it does lead to some interesting scenes in Infinity War where you have the 2 Sherlock Holmeses sharing a lot of screen time together.
Well, actually, though, the weird thing is that it is for the MCU, they take characters that, for the most part, I really didn't care about.
Yeah.
I wasn't big into the Avengers.
Right.
Matter of fact, I was kind of bored by those comics at the time. And I never bothered with Doctor Strange when I was reading. I was into Spider-Man big time. I was into the Sony properties.
Spider-Man,
well, not Fantastic
X-Men, and getting out of Marvel Batman. Those were my big ones. Yeah.
And I added a couple others, Deadpool, X-Force, New Mutants.
Well, those fall under the X-Men umbrella.
And I also liked
I loved Excalibur.
Green Lantern for me was really good after they had Emerald Twilight and Kyle Reiner took over, and then they screwed it up and brought Hal back. They should have just left him dead and moved on with that. That would have been a kind of cool story that they could do in the MCU if they wanted to revive Green Lantern. They could do a Emerald Twilight revival.
In the MCU?
Sorry, well, DC. Well, once Disney acquires DC.
Yes. Well, you know, one of these days Deadpool's going to show up in the DC.
But,
just because.
Speaking of great cinematic universes, let's go to the Full Moon cinematic universe for a little while. And off of the Valentine's Day sale, I finally got the movie Doll Man.
Yeah.
Doll Man is about a guy who was shrunk down. And that's about it.
13 inches with an attitude.
Well, Brick Bardo is a traveler from outer space who is forced to land on Earth. Though regular-sized on his home planet, he is doll-sized here on Earth, as are the enemy forces who have landed as well. While Brick enlists the help of an impoverished girl and her son, the bad guys enlist the help of a local gang. When word leaks out as to his location, all hell breaks loose. Brick is besieged by an onslaught of curious kids, angry gang members, and his own doll-sized enemies. So,
you said besieged by an onslaught of... I almost wanted you to say Curious George.
I'm sure the Curious George must enter in somewhere. I actually believe I have seen this movie in the past. But I do look forward to seeing it again. I love these cheesy movies. I need to just sit down one day and just do a cheesy movie-a-thon. But who knows? Time.
Yes. All right. So... back again. We're doing an up, down, up, down, up, down this time.
Obviously, my quality is much higher.
But I've got my best one saved for last. But anyway, for now, probably, as we said before, probably the single most critical one for getting ready for Infinity War, Thor Ragnarok. This is also notable as one of the most singularly awesome Marvel films yet, and one of the most singularly entertaining Marvel films yet. You know, it's like you could almost hear, like in the gladiatorial arena scene, you could almost hear Thor quoting Russell Crowe. Are you not entertained? You know, you could... Taika Waititi really outdid himself. He is becoming one of my favorite directors. He is flippin' hilarious. He does a great vocal performance cameo in this film. It really does. Everyone looks like they're having fun. A lot of people came right out and said they're having fun with this film. But, I mean, Jeff Goldblum is just, like, having a good old time. You know, Cate Blanchett looked like she was having fun. You know, they make great antagonists. And then, of course, the interplay with Thor and Hulk, you know, and all that stuff. And between Thor and Loki, Tessa Thompson, I think is the name that played Valkyrie. She did a great job. It's just a fun movie. Great use of Led Zeppelin in the score. Oh, and one other minor note on Infinity War that I liked. They did not play a lot of music other than the score, but they did do one callback to the one property known for its music, Guardians of the Galaxy. They did a callback to that soundtrack in the movie, and I loved it. This one, it does have great use of music, but it's mostly that one song, the Immigrant Song. But really, really worth watching if you haven't seen it yet. If you had asked me to, we were talking just a bit ago about characters that bore. Thor bored the crap out of me.
Well, the other two movies were kind of...
No, well, I mean, Thor, in the MCU, even Dark World was a pretty interesting movie. It wasn't great, but it was alright.
Both of the movies were low
in the comics, Thor bored the crap out of me. I never liked Thor as a comic character, but he's great in the movies. Chris Hemsworth does a great job with the character, and this, like I said, this definitely worth having. Yeah.
Well, you see, to me, I think that they play the character off more like Hercules.
Right.
If you're familiar with the character of Hercules in the Marvel
universe. A little bit. Yeah.
He reminds me more of Hercules than Thor. Thor is more of that proper doth thou easily offended, almost paladin type character.
Yeah.
The movies, in my opinion, Thor and Thor Ragnarok are two of the weakest movies in the MCU. But the third one...
This is the third one.
Yeah, the third one... Sorry, Dark World. Sorry. The first two were the weakest movies in the MCU, in my opinion.
Well, the first one was kind of going for what you were saying.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a Kenneth Branagh film, and he's known for his whole Shakespearean, but, yeah.
Well, like I say, I feel like the third one, though, it really did bring back the series for me on Thor. It was really on point. It was enjoyable the whole way through. It didn't drag. That, to me, was very different from the other two.
Right.
So, very glad to see it. So, I was talking about how I was visiting old classics. And one classic series is the Suikoden series. Now... All but two of these games are on the PlayStation Store, but only if you own a PlayStation 3. And that's a shame. The Suikoden series is one of the best RPG series that was on the PlayStation 1. Suikoden 1, you got to recruit over 100 characters, many of which you could actually use in your party. The level progression system was extremely good. You could level up your party to be on even keel with everything else very quickly. So if you said, I want to use this character because they look cool, you drag in this character. Like, let's say there's a Black Knight that you can get if you find the character. That's part of it. That's part of the fun, though, is you're finding the different characters throughout this. And like the Black Knight, for instance, is hiding in the castle of the vampire that you defeated, but you got to catch him randomly sitting there. So you got to keep visiting it over and over again until you find him. But let's say you wanted to use him, but he was at level like 10 and you're at level 50.
Right.
Get him to survive 1 or 2 battles. He's up to like level 49. You're good to go.
After 2 battles?
Yeah, actually, after something
Wow.
like that. Yeah, it's very quick on the level progression. Because if you're fighting enemies that are equally leveled, you go up like really quick. Which is great, because everybody gets back up to snuff,
Right.
and you're able to do what you want. Very ingenious mechanics. The second one I own, I've never sold my copy of this one. I sold my copy of the first one. PlayStation 1 games play on the PS3. But I also have a hold of the first 2 games on the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Portable because they are available for digital download. Now, these other 2 are available for digital download only to the PS3, but I didn't have it. I didn't think I was going to get a $25 PS3 at the time, so I'd rebought my PlayStation 2 so I could play Suikoden 3. Which was, again, very cool. They decided to change it up a little bit, where you followed 3 different protagonists and how their stories intertwined. Again, recruiting of different people, different characters. It was an excellent game. But the last one in the series I beat, sadly. Then I got Suikoden 4, which is more of a island game. It took place in a different section of the world. Again, involving a massive recruitment of characters. I really wish I could have seen the end of this particular game, but now I can. I can go back and play it. So, these, however, are not available on the PlayStation Store, so you can only play them if you have a PS2 and you get these rare gems. Which is Suikoden 5, which is the last one in the series. There were a couple of other ones that were spin-offs, but this was the last of the main ones. I've never played this game. So I am looking forward to trying this out. And then, of course, Suikoden Tactics, which I'm not exactly looking forward to it, but the auction I bid on for fairly cheap had it. So I am curious enough that I probably will try it out.
Okay.
So, that's the Suikoden
Okay.
stuff in a bar.
All right. And for my last one, you've been seeing like all this high level of quality,
No, the highest
and
level.
high demand and top shelf stuff, and then we got the best one of all, Zebra Man. It is by Takashi Miike, the acclaimed director of Ichi the Killer, which I still need to see. Also, The Great Yokai War. And he did a really weird, fun little East-West mishmash called Sukiyaki Western Django, which actually featured a cameo by Quentin Tarantino, of all people.
It's a great movie.
This guy is right up Tarantino's alley. Zebra Man is kind of a silly movie. This is basically, it centers around this guy, Shinichi, who once was obsessed with a short-lived TV superhero show called Zebra Man, set in the year 2010. When 2010 actually rolls around, Shinichi is a grade school teacher and family man who can't get any respect from his students or his family. To escape this not-so-wonderful life, he makes himself a Zebra Man costume and begins to prowl around the city at night, playing at being a hero. Kind of like Kick-Ass, but less effective, if I remember correctly. And then monsters from the show actually start showing up, and he has to actually be a superhero. We watched this movie a while back, and I think you would agree with me. The single most memorable thing about it is the theme song, and I hope you can find a clip of that theme song.
I've thought about it. I'll just have to see if I got
hope we can find it. But it's kind of forgettable. But I think the movie cost me like $3. I get it on the Right Stuff sale last Christmas. I am slowly working my way through that sale. But for the theme song alone, I think it was worth about $3.
Oh, definitely worth $3.
And it's worth getting more Takashi Miike movies
if
for
you
my
like
collection.
Kick-Ass.
Yeah.
It's similar to Kick-Ass in a way.
Like I said, not as good, but it's the same sort of idea, basically.
I think more comical than Kick-Ass. Really, more outright comical.
Yeah, well, yeah, probably.
But that's it for this time's run-through. I hope you enjoyed these pickups. Of course, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Of course, subscribe to our channel and share that stuff. And then, of course, if you had a comment on anything that you've heard or seen today, please leave a comment. Did you think that Halloween 2 was the best of the Halloween films? Or which one did you prefer? Did you prefer the Rob Zombie one or the original Halloween 2 better? Do you think Rob Zombie is the greatest director of all time? Or not? Do you think that Zebra Man is the greatest superhero of all time? But of course, leave us a comment, and hopefully we will see you on the next one.